You can have two sides that are on the side of evil. You could also have one side that is on the side of good. I'll give an example of that now, which is America, of course. America had been at a non-violent war with Great Britain for a while before they actually went to war in the late 1700s. It was only because King George pushed it so much he decided to try and conquer Americans. Americans never wanted to go to war. They wanted peace. They were trying to work out treaties and deals and, set up an infrastructure that allowed them to, cooperate with Great Britain, but still be their own independent country. And there were many people in America that didn't even want to go to war for their independence because they just didn't want to go to war. They didn't believe that that was the right thing to do. But in this case, America, and I've talked about this many times in the past on this channel, was set up and created by God. It was the first nation that was established to be a Christian nation. It was the first nation that was established to be a home for God's Christian people and ultimately became the new Israel, which is what we still currently are today. Yes, we've gotten very far from God's will for us, and we're at a place where we're at a crossroads. Whether or not we're going to go on into the future to continue to be the world's superpower and continue to be great and a light on the hill and the nation that other nations look to as an example of how to be a nation, how to be a country, or we're going to go down the other path of the end of America. And that future is coming soon. I don't know when. It could be 100 years from now, but it's coming soon. It's coming where America is going to have to go down one of those two paths. Are we going to turn back to God and be a Christian nation once again and continue to be the greatest? Or are we going to fall and just be part of the history books? But that war was allowed by God, and the people prayed countless times. The government prayed. Congress got together and prayed together to decide what was best for them, what was the right thing to do, what was God's will for them. At every angle, at every corner, God kept revealing to them that ultimately they were going to have to go to war with Great Britain in order to fight for their independence. And they did. And many, many Americans died in order to have that freedom. But the war still went on. And the smaller nation of militiamen that did not have the technology and advancements that Great Britain had won against the world's greatest superpower. And there were so many instances where Great Britain had the advantage and they still lost because of unique circumstances that clearly shows it was God's divine intervention. So that's an example of a war that the war itself was not righteous or good because it's war, but God's people were on one side of that war and they were good. And so God allowed them to win. You'll never see a war with two sides being Christians and God's people, because God's people don't war against each other. If they do and are, then they're not God's people, and they're lying, masquerading as God's people. God's people will always find a way to broker peace.